Hi, I'm Dave Sweet here, and we're at the 2023 AHR Expo, and we just want to spotlight some of our smart pumps over here. Taco kind of has three in that platform of smart pumps in your basic residential sizing. The 0018E has Bluetooth communication built into it, so we can actually see inside the pipe and see what's going on. Why would you want that? Well, there's a lot of times I can't see the flow and head, what's happening in a system. If I go over to my display here, I can actually see what the flow rate is in the system and what the pressure drop is experiencing on that system. So in this application, I like to show multiple zone valves going on. So if I have a zone valve set up, I would actually set it up for our constant pressure mode here. Constant pressure means no matter what zones are open or closed, it's going to ride right along a certain pump curve and remain the same. I can change those pump curves for different pressures depending on the head or the pressure drop on the system. For example, our traditional AC 007 has a very flat pump curve around 10 feet of head. So if I set this here, I'm roughly about 10 foot of head, and I'm a little over 6 gallons per minute. Each one of my three zones are set up for 2 gallons a minute. It drives 2, 4, 6, around 6 gallons a minute over here. If I close down one of the zones over there, we'll see that that flow rate will drop on there, and you'll see it start to drop down to around 4 gallons a minute. Everything kind of is in check. So now I can actually see inside the pipe. I can see what's going on, because not every application do I have it actually installed flow meter, but with the 0018E, I can see that. Now that's great for if I'm doing multiple zone valves. Well, what happens if I like zoning with just a circulator, like an indirect water heater, like a fan coil? I would suggest setting it on our manual setting. When we say manual setting, it's still variable speed, but I can use the slider bar and pick a certain head and flow that my design point was. So maybe I needed 4 or 5 gallons a minute going through that air handler. I can dial it in exactly to get to the flow rate I need for that air handler, and it's going to stay there. When we changed over to the blue, you see the light changes, so it knows we're in that mode. So if we're in orange, constant pressure. Another mode that we have is proportional pressure, which would be green. That would be more of a European system where you have parallel supply and return. All, say, radiators in the system get the same outgoing water temperature, so I can slow the pump way down knowingly that gets that. But in North America, we tend to do a lot of series loop, like I have baseboard or radiators. I feed through one, feed through the. It's not ideal to do proportional pressure on those type of systems, just because the logic's different. I'd rather do the manual variable speed or the constant pressure with those kind of applications. There's also on here is, that active adapt, so it kind of learns what the system is doing and kind of self-regulates on there. But truthfully, where it really shines is on that constant pressure on doing that. So not only does the 0018E have that feature, so does our other pumps on here. So we made this display so you can actually change between pumps. So if I actually go to our 0015E3 set on medium, I get that exact same response. If I go to here and this pump turns on, we'll see that I have 2 gallons, 4 gallons a minute in there. Same thing, if I drop off a zone, this one doesn't change. It stays exactly at that same flow rate. And that's the unique thing about all these, or even our 007E, it works like that. So it responds to the system. Since it is a ECM pump, there's a brain in there deciding how to make the pump run. It looks at the motor current, looks at other parameters, and it can vary the speed of that to maintain. So this one is fixed at 10 foot of head. It's pump curve on there, so you can see 2, 2, 2, so 6 gallons a minute. Even though I don't get a display or a readout, I know that it operates just like that. So that's kind of a neat way to see what's going on, that the smart pumps all do respond to the system, and they self-regulate, they balance, they all do that.